What's up, YouTube? We back with another review. Today we're gonna be reviewing Gachiakuta episode 2. Let's get it. And so it starts off with Rudo. He's having a flashback. Somebody's finna get thrown in a pit. And as he's watching, he can't help but to think to himself, people are so worried about people being criminals and being filth, but never care about what happens to them after they're thrown into this pit. Thinking about this gets him enraged. And his eyes look as if he wants revenge. And so as we move along, we go back to him being in this pit. And he's running for his life. Not only is there one trash monster, it's three. What will he do? And after barely escaping one of the monster's bites, he falls down off the cliff. And as he's falling down, he notices something. He can't breathe. Something down here is affecting his breathing. And so as he's throwing up blood, he's thinking to himself, he has to find somewhere safe. And as he says that, the three trash beasts arrive. And they on bad timing. They looking to kill him. And he's thinking to himself, man, I can't do anything again. I guess I'm going to die here. And in that very moment, a flashback happens and he sees a vision of Recto dying. And that must have sparked something in him. Because his gloves sparked and his power started to activate. And what happens next is crazy. He then sees all the objects or weapons that he could use. And as one of the beasts approaches him to attack, he knocks it away with the metal rod. He also pledges to himself that he can't die here. He still has to get revenge for Recto and get his get back for all the people who look down on him and called him a criminal. As the anime continues, a man with an umbrella and binoculars appear. He spots Rudo, but he's surprised by something. And after this small cameo, it goes back to Rudo fighting the trash beast. He's doing his best to fend him off. And with a few epic attacks, he's holding his ground. But it don't last too long, because one of the trash beasts knocks him to the ground. And before you know it, another trash beast has him dead to rights. But using his skills, he managed to escape. But it's not enough, because out of the blue, another trash beast emerges from underground. After nearly getting ate up, he manages to escape. But the air in the pit must be taking a toll on him, because he starts to throw up blood. And even worse, the trash beasts are back, and they looking to kill him. And so as both of these trash beasts run up to him and try to get him, Rudo's glove sparks, and it activates his powers. And after it looked like he was going to get cooked, he suddenly appears with a new weapon. And with this weapon, he lets off an epic attack, destroying both of them. He's thinking, I finally done it. But he hasn't. Another trash beast arrives, and he's the biggest one yet. Rudo does the race. He takes off, but he doesn't get too far because the beast lets off a whiplash attack, striking the ground. And the effects of this attack knocks Rudo to the ground. And what happened next surprises Rudo. He looks up, and the same guy that was watching him earlier with an umbrella is standing over him. He's thinking to himself, man, who is this guy? And as he's thinking that, the guy kicks him and then gives him a mask. Rudo's like, who are you? But the only thing he insists is that Rudo be quiet. He keeps telling him to be quiet. But Rudo does the complete opposite. He starts yelling and asking for information. He's like, what is this place? The guy then grows enraged and he starts yelling. He says, I told you to shut up. And out of nowhere, a trash beast arrives behind him. He tells Rudo, this is all your fault for being so damn loud. After giving him lore on trash beasts, he says, you can't defeat one of these beasts with ordinary weapons. He also says that they're attracted to sounds. And ironically, he's yelling. And so the beast comes towards him. He's approaching him from behind. And as the beast attacks, he activates his umbrella as a weapon. And like a spinning blade, the umbrella destroys the beast. But it's not over. More beasts arrive, and it's looking like a 20v1. And as they attack him, he activates his umbrella. And with his tremendous skill and power, he destroys all the beasts. Rudo is amazed. He's like, what? And so as this guy's floating down on his umbrella, another beast approaches. And he spits out some toxic venom. And as his venom's approaching him, in midair, he wards off the attack using his special umbrella. But he's not done yet. After that, he lets off his final attack. He jumps on top of the trash beast's head. And after using the beast's head like a springboard, he flies in the air. And while in the air, he activates his umbrella. And as he locks on to the target, he lets off the final death blow. And as he shoots towards the beast, he nukes it and obliterates it. And after the fatality, he finds Rudo. He's surprised. He says, "Hey, you're still alive?" Rudo's still shocked. He's like, "Who are you?" And he finally takes off his mask. He says, "I'm Injin." Shortly thereafterwards, he falls unconscious, and he goes into a dream-like state. He has a flashback of him and Recto. This flashback goes to him when he was a kid. He tells Recto that he was being bullied by the kids, just because he told them that objects are alive. Recto explains to him, he said, "That's just a legend." Rudo then says, "But you told me if an object is taken care of, it'll come alive." Recto says, "Well, it don't really mean that, but, I still believe in it." He reassures him that everything has a soul. And so Rudo says, "Everything?" And as he looks down to his gloves, he says, "These too?" Then Recto tells him, "Hey, any object treated with care, it'll one day awaken." And right as he says that, Rudo awakens from being unconscious. But hilariously, he's chained up. He tells Injin, he says, "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" He says, "Hey, I just brought you along with me." And after they go tit for tat, Rudo says, "Hey, I gotta get back up there." Injin then tells him, he says, "Huh? That's not even possible. How are you gonna get back up to the sky?" He says, "Just quit, man. You're not gonna get up there." Rudo then tells him, he says, "Hey, man, I don't care what you say. I'm gonna make it up there." And he says, "I want to know more about this place." And after pleading and pleading to Injin to know more about this place, Injin finally agrees. And so he takes Rudo to an undisclosed area. And shortly after, he pieces out. He says, "Have fun." Rudo's like, "Hey, you haven't even told me anything." And as we move along, Rudo's approached by a couple men with masks on their face. They're surprised to see that he's not dead, but they're even more surprised at the fact that he's a Spearite. And after being in awe and enamored by his clothing and his appearance, one of the men offered to take the chain off of him. And he says, "Wow, they're way more friendlier than Injin." But he couldn't be more wrong. And a few minutes later, they tie the chains even tighter on him in the back of the van. As Rudo's struggling trying to get the chains off of him, the men tell him that Spearites go for a lot of money down here, and people will buy a Spearite just to torture them. He also tells Rudo that the people down in this area hate them because after continuously throwing trash down to their area, they toxified their air and polluted it, poisoning them and destroying their lives. And as they continue to troll and antagonize him, he then stuffs some old food in his mouth. And one of the other men trolling him, he says, "Hey, you like that garbage food, don't you?" And as the other man continuously to shove trash down Rudo's mouth, Rudo then bites the skin off his fingers. And as he's reeking in pain, Rudo says, "That food is not trash, you can still eat it." And Rudo then goes into a rage. He says everywhere he go, people are always judging people and calling them names. He yells, "Quit labeling people how you want them." And as he grows more mad, he breaks loose from the chains, and his power starts to activate. And as all of this is going on, Injin is watching from up top. He's saying, "Bro, power is amazing." And after hearing a faint flashback of Recto's words, his gloves then spark up. And using his insane skill, he then uses the objects around him to destroy these men. And we find out that this skill means that he's a giver. And after Rudo goes in to kill the last man, he picks up an object. He goes to take him out. But Injin then stops him. He says, "Hey, that's enough." And as he powers down, he's curious. He's like, "Hey, what was going on? What was that power?" And Injin says, "Hey, I'll tell you all about that power and all about this place if you join my crew." Rudo says, "Nah, I'm good." And so, guys, that pretty much wraps up the episode. That's Gachiakuta, episode 2. Like and subscribe. I'm out.